Welcome to the very first culinary episode of MicroDose with MoDose Cannabis. I am your host, Mo, and today we are in one of my favorite rooms in the house. Now, everybody knows I love my grow room, but the kitchen has literally always had my heart. And today we are making one of my very favorite cookie recipes. We're making my chocolate chip recipe, okay? And it is a family and friend favorite. Less the family with the THC, well, certain family members anyway. But anyway, it's a great recipe, so y'all get it. I do a mix of semi-sweet and white chocolate, and it just gives it a really nice, gooey, like delicious flavor. But you guys can modify how you see fit. If you want to do Reese's Pieces, if you want to add oatmeal, if for some reason you want to add raisins, you can do that. But it is a great recipe, so let's go ahead and walk through those steps. Now, I'm gonna be completely honest with y'all. Normally, I would be wearing like a bonnet or something, a very ugly bonnet, just because I have a weird thing with hair. But because of this video, and I can't promise that y'all won't see that bonnet. I honestly cannot. It's probably gonna come out. But what I'm saying to you is, keep your hair tied back or keep it covered, wear a hat if you are going to be cooking, okay? I just, in my soul, I can't go through this video without saying that to you guys, okay? All right, let's go. Okay, so footnote, before we go any further, you definitely have to make your cannabis butter or oil or whatever solvent you're going to use prior to starting this recipe, okay? You want to do it at least a day before. So I have videos on how to decarboxylate and how to make your cannabis butter, but you need to decarb your cannabis, especially if you're using raw cannabis, so it's greenish color. If you're using raw cannabis, you have to decarb it. Otherwise, you will not get the psychoactive effects, okay? You will not get high. You won't get high. And then you have to infuse it with your butter or your oil. I personally strongly recommend that you do not do this in one step. Some people say that you can decarb and infuse at the same time. I have done it. It lessens the effect of your THC in my experience. I would do this as 2 steps. And again, go visit those videos on that. And let's go into the recipe. I ain't even gonna hold y'all up. I am not even gonna hold y'all up. I have killed some with the amounts of cannabis or the THC levels in these cookies, okay? It has definitely been about a learning curve. Okay, I will just say that. So listen to me. Don't overdo it, okay? So check out my website. There is a THC calculator. It'll help you figure out how many grams you need to get the amount of, grams or milligrams that you're gonna want in each cookie, okay? For this recipe, I am using 18 grams. I am going to be using a half a cup of coconut oil and then infusing that, which is going to give me about 1/4 of a cup of infused cannabis. I'm only going to be using 2 tablespoons, okay, because I want people to enjoy these cookies, and that's going to give me about 15 or so milligrams per cookie, which, that's pretty good, right? It's pretty decent. Yeah, I have definitely gone Space Cadet off of these cookies. So I am just giving you my cautionary tale and what my recommendation is for a normal smoker or indulger, okay? If you have a high tolerance, go for the moon, but also be aware of who you're serving, okay? All right. Let's mix the dough. Let's mix the dough. Okay, I don't know why I am this way, but let's mix them all up. Okay, so I kind of have all the hard measuring parts done already. I've also used up a million bowls, so I'm about to do a shit ton of dishes because of y'all, but I love y'all, so it's fine. So 2 1/4 cups of flour in a medium-sized mixing bowl. Then we have 1 teaspoon, a teaspoon of baking soda. Okay. Teaspoon of baking soda. And 1 teaspoon of salt. Don't skip on the salt. It helps bring the flavor out. I normally don't actually pour the salt over the actual thing that I'm putting it in, because you can spill and then that becomes a problem. But for today, I trust myself. And 1 teaspoon of salt goes in. We're gonna go ahead and mix all of these ingredients together. What I don't have is a spatula or a spoon out. Shame on me. Mix it together. And these are our dry ingredients, and we're gonna go ahead and put these to the side and then mix up our wet ingredients. Once those are mixed up, we'll go ahead and gradually add this into our batter. Okay, so let's take you over here to the mixer. All right, let's get mixy. And my favorite KitchenAid, my sister gave me this for Christmas one year. It is literally the best gift I've ever received. All right, so let's start things off by adding our butter, our it's nice and room temperature. And it's 14 tablespoons, and then 2 tablespoons of the can of butter. So that makes up for 1 full cup of butter. Okay, and actually technically this is coconut oil. I like to infuse coconut oil. So get that in there. And the second scoop. Oh man, this is gonna be so delicious. Dangerously good and potent at the same time. Also, make sure that you are letting your friends know what they're getting into. Make sure you are telling them how many grams. I encourage you to figure that out. How many milligrams are in each cookie. Okay. All right. So we've got our cannabis butter in there. Now you know what? Let's start with our brown sugar, babe. We're going to add our light brown sugar. And then we are going to go ahead and add our dark brown sugar. Okay. Beautiful. That is half a cup of each. And then we have 3/4 cup of regular granulated sugar, as I mentioned. Okay. And then I like to get that nice and creamy first before I start to add my eggs. Oh my God, it smells so good. That THC. Okay, all right, so we can go ahead and add our eggs. These are those room temperature eggs. They just help to blend in a little bit better when they're room temperature. It's not really necessary. It's just a preference of mine. So go ahead and add those in. Honestly, when I'm making normal cookies, I wait to add the eggs so that I can like just taste the batter. But when I'm making THC infused cookies, all right, we get it. And then the last ingredient we have, my mom always taught me to just always add a little extra vanilla. So we have 2 teaspoons at minimum, and honestly, like, I just love vanilla so much. I just feel like you can really have enough, but I really want to add a tablespoon. But this shit is actually expensive, so all that, you know what I'm saying? All right, so let's give that a little mix. And just want y'all to see the consistency. Oh, all right. So the next thing we're going to do is slowly add in our flour or our dry ingredients. Now, I definitely say slowly. So if you're using a mixer, I mean, if you're doing this by hand, like, bless you for sure. I've made so many cookies by hand, you know, without the mixer. But if you're using a mixer, you probably already know this, but just start slow, because otherwise you're going to have flour all over the place. So keep it on the low. Don't just go from 0 to 100. Just keep it slow and low. And then once everything's starting to be like a little bit incorporated, then you turn it up a little bit Turn it up, turn it up, turn it up. Of course, the dough starts to get a little bit of a thicker consistency. What I like to do when I'm trying to like clear off my mixer, I'll turn it up a little bit and I'll gradually lift it. So when I'm trying to get the dough, because you see when I pick it up, the dough is all stuck on there. So I'll just turn it up, gradually lift it up slowly, and the batter starts to come off of the bottom of it. And so voila, you see that? Whoop, whoop, whoop. Pro tip, the last step here, well, in regards to mixing ingredients, is to go ahead and put in our 1 cup of semi-sweet morsels and 1 cup of white chocolate chips. Again, feel free to modify based on, you know, kind of what you want in your cookies, you know. Again, Reese's Pieces, oatmeal. You can do chocolate chip oatmeal, adding like a cup of actual oatmeal. I like to give it a mix first with a spatula or something before I let the mixer get a hold of it. I'll just put this on low and give it a nice little twirl. If you are used to eating dough, by all means, go for it. Just remember that when you're making these are infused. Sometimes I forget and then I'm high for 2 days. The amount of cookie dough I eat. Alright, pulling it up. Okay, good to go there. And then we're gonna go ahead. This is like not necessary, but is one of my favorite things to do because it changes the consistency of the cookies. Put them in a freezer bag and get them in the freezer for at least an hour. I like to leave them overnight if I can. But yeah, it definitely makes the cookies like nice and gooey, toffee-ish. Of course, you can't overcook them and achieve that, but you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just so yummy, okay? And voila! This is going to go into the freezer, again, for at least an hour, but I would definitely recommend overnight. And again, this is completely optional. It's just my preference for the actual consistency and texture of the cookies. So I'm gonna go ahead and put this in the freezer, and I'll see y'all back here tomorrow. All right, we are back, and it has been 24 hours since we first put our cookie dough into the freezer. I have since taken it out and let it kind of thaw a little bit for about 10 minutes or so. Not till it's completely defrosted, but just to take a little bit of the chill off of it. So the next thing I'm gonna do, I've heated up my oven to 350 degrees. I'm gonna go ahead and drop the cookies onto the baking sheet. I opted to cover my baking sheet with a little bit of aluminum foil because I'm lazy and I don't like scrubbing pans too much. So let me just show you quickly how I actually drop my cookies. Okay, so here we are. I have my cookie dough. I just take a nice little handful, and I personally like to shape mine into the shape of an actual cookie. Some people like to use a spoon and just drop it. That's more like a home style type of feel, but I like mine to look more like a store-bought cookie. So I go ahead and do this. It's about 1.5 inches in diameter. I go ahead and drop it, and then I'm going to put these bad boys into the oven. I'm going to make 6. I'm going to keep them on 350 for about 8 minutes. Check them. What I do like to do is turn off the oven before they're done. Let them kind of sit in there for an extra minute. That way it just kind of gives like a little bit of the residual heat, and they come out a little bit softer. So let's go ahead and do that. And we've got our 6 cookies dropped. Look at those beauties. And I'm just gonna go ahead and put them into the oven. And then magic is gonna happen. All right, that's my favorite sound. The timer went off. turn it off because now it's annoying. But, oh, look at those beauties. You see how, oh my God, it smells so good. They are not all the way cooked. They're a little bit, you can tell the middle isn't as solid as the ends out here, the edges. It's a little bit loose kind of looking. I hope that makes sense. So I turned off the oven. I'm going to close the oven and I'm going to let that residual heat continue to cook the rest of my beautiful cookies. As a note to all my MoDosers, I do recommend that you keep some CBD on hand if you are going to be, well, for yourself too, but if you're going to be serving other guests and you're not really sure what your THC levels are, maybe you serve someone and they get a little too anxious, a little too high, you give them some CBD and that'll help to counter the effects. So if the THC gets them too high, the CBD will help to balance that out. So I just want to make sure that everyone is being responsible, having a good time, and these cookies are damn good, so they might overeat. Just keep that little nugget in the back of your pocket, and I will see y'all. Thank you so much for joining me today and letting me share one of my favorite recipes with you. As always, like, subscribe, comment, turn that notification on for more recipes, and of course head over to the channel for growing tips. So if you want to grow your own stuff, make sure you go ahead and check that out, and I'll see y'all next time.